Koumei is a bit of an anomaly. I don't think I've ever seen a Warframe release that's had the community so split on whether a Warframe is either good or bad, and what's even more strange is how the take that I have on this frame is something I don't think anyone has really seen before with a Warframe that's been released. Normally it's either the frame is good, mid or bad. In the case of Koumei, I think there's a strong point to be made that this frame just isn't made for you. There's plenty of different ways to play Warframe, of course, and some people are going to play in shorter missions, maybe not go for too long in Endless or play Endless at all, and some players do like going on Endless endurance runs for many hours, sometimes with teammates, maybe a few hours in Void Cascade, an hour in a survival, or rare instances where you want to go really long and farm a bunch of resources in a singular mission and pause your Warframe day in day out so you can come back to it in a solo mission like I did here with the gameplay in the background. Warframe does have specific playstyles that some people opt for. Obviously there's plenty of players that can't really do endurance purely based on time management. If you've got enough time in your day to do endurance and come in and out of a mission, then most people are only going to do it for an hour. And if we look at Koumei, a big criticism that people have is that she isn't really useful outside of anything endless. But is that really bad for a Warframe's design? I'm sure there's plenty of examples of frames that are maybe designed to be good at specific parts of the game, but we've never had one that is really good at just endurance, and even the dev said that she's kind of meant to be designed around that. Understandably, some people don't really see this as a good point to be made for a kit, because at the same time she was also advertised as being new player friendly because she takes 24 hours to craft instead of 3 days, and she was available on Cetus. So yeah, it's a bit weird that she's kind of advertised as both endurance and new player friendly, yet when it comes to mid game, there's frames that definitely outclass her. But I think there's an obvious point that people are missing, and that's how decrees work with newer players. Let's say a newer player wants to queue up with some randoms and go X amount of time in an endless mission. And let's say their Koumei build isn't too great because their mods are lower levels and they're a newer player. Koumei has access to decrees, and as the mission goes on, the more decrees you get, the stronger you're going to be. This allows new players to keep up with their teammates in damage with their weapons and their skills the longer the mission goes on, purely based on using Koumei's decree ability. I think that's the case the devs were going for in terms of why she's actually kind of new player friendly, but yes, it's a bit weird that they did market both at the same time. Koumei's actual use is for endurance, however, so it makes sense that 50% of the community does like her and the other 50% doesn't, because I'd say that's a pretty good estimate on a split of how many players actually enjoy going at least an hour in an endless mission. There's a lot more reason to nowadays with how the game has aged, but if Koumei was introduced maybe 2-3 years ago, she'd be in a dumpster fire right now. Now an obvious question is, do I, someone who really enjoys Koumei, actually think she's a good Warframe? Overall, yes, I do think Koumei is good, but at the same time, I am open to the fact that I am one of the losers who really enjoys doing endless missions and sweating his arse off. And for players that don't like going long times in missions, she is not very useful. However, to counter this point, I would like to talk about some of the criticisms that players have in regards to Koumei's kit and how it works. First one being that apparently several of the decree challenges are just too much of a nuisance to pull off. I think the wall latch challenge is easy and is an absolutely ridiculous complaint. However, the one that I actually don't enjoy is the one that requires headshots, because I don't often use weapons that are good for getting headshots on Koumei, because I think she's good with beam weapons. I don't know, personally I feel like the challenges are super easy on Koumei, especially in a solo format, but in a team player format it would be nice to have your teammates' kills contribute to the challenges that you have active at the time. Also, the complaints about Koumei's damage really only scaling X amount due to the fact that you want to be in really long missions for her to be at her peak. I'm sorry, but 30 minutes to an hour into a survival is more than enough to make Koumei extremely strong. By 30 minutes in, you've already got a good selection of decrees, and then by an hour, I think you really start to feel like she's above most other Warframes. Maybe it's my weapon choices and how well the synergies from the decrees and the weapons is going. And of course there is RNG to take into account, but I haven't really had any bad RNG first 30 to an hour in a survival. I'm just saying, I think these endless mission complaints is the fact that she seems to scale too slowly with the decrees, but I disagree. I don't think it takes many decrees for Koumei to be good at all. And on top of this, if you really want a solid nuke frame, just for most levels of content, combining her 4 and then subsuming off her 1 for Sickening Pulse is just a goated combination. Not only does it nuke at level cap, but also in every other area of the game. So I've been rambling and making my case for why I think Koumei is pretty good and just isn't made for every type of player. But you're probably wondering, what tips do I have for anyone who wants to try Koumei, and what was I using in the background gameplay? And it's best to start with, of course, our mod setup, choices of Archon Shards and Helmet. As I said, Sickening Pulse is amazing over her first ability. It is incredibly slept on just how powerful this combination gets. It will one-shot level cap enemies when combined with the 4, and it's easy for people to sleep on the fact that the decrees are giving you a bunch of different elements to your weaponry, and that combines with the elements that you now proc on your 4th. I can rock up to a mission with just electricity on my melee weapon to proc influence, and then all of a sudden my decrees are going to have my weapons proccing toxin, fire, and then I'm casting my 4 and more elements are being put on the enemies, and then you use Sickening Pulse and all of those procs on the enemy just detonate. Just picture every proc in the game getting put to max stacks on the enemy, throwing gas in there, corrosive. It makes sense that pretty much every enemy in the game can be one shot by this, and I just think it's way better than her first ability. But if you don't like it, you can keep her first, because at the end of the day your decrees are going to carry you to level cap anyway. She is of course amazing with the Archon mods. You don't have to run Archon Intensify like I did, you can run Umbral, but due to the fact that her third ability basically just cancels out enemies' damage and heals you instead, effectively blocking about 50% of enemy attacks, it means that Archon Intensify can be procced very easily, but the Umbral mod is more reliable. Archon Continuity obviously meaning so that whenever you proc Toxin with ideally your 4th ability, it's also going to throw on a corrosive proc, stretch for when you proc electricity, and it just gives you more energy regen. And combining that with Augur Reach, you don't need overextended like I used in the previous Koumei video. Some of the decrees want you to kill enemies that are 20 meters away, and you can easily do this with the combination of Sickening Pulse and your 4th, as long as you have Augur Reach and stretch. Any more range than that is not necessary. For your energy sustain, it does get a bit tricky because if you're going in an endless mission, really all you probably need is fleeting expertise, but I am running 3 purple Archon Shards to give me basically the equivalent of an equilibrium. This is only 4 missions that I'm not going endless in to help my energy sustain be more reliable, but obviously your decrees are going to help with your energy in the long run, so you don't really need these shards if you're only using her for endurance. Reefer Spite for an extra layer of shield gating, Punch your footed so we don't get knocked down, more augmented for some bonus strength because why not, and then of course combining Aegis with Fortitude, Vigilante Vigor and Fast Deflection is going to help us with a bunch of shield regen and reduction in the delay of the shield regen. Even with this entire combination you can still go down to Toxin Eximus, so just keep that in mind. And you could also throw on some of the shield mods that you have access to with your Sentinel to make this even stronger. And then some casting speed Archon Shards as well to make this entire setup way faster. Your weapon selection is completely up to you because whatever you use is going to become way more powerful with the more decrees you get. I really like using beam weapons on Koumei because it allows me to make use of secondary fortifier much better, just consistently spraying down hordes and hitting enemies with overguard. And I know in the previous Koumei video I was pretty concerned about how secondary fortifier was bugged, but turns out this is just a mechanic called Heat Inherit. And this still works, meaning that I'm getting overguard back from attacks from my melee and my primary due to the heat inheritance. And this is going to be our primary form of staying alive, other than the shield regen and the shield gating from our build. Phantasma is still insane for the setup. Kuva New Core as well, but can be replaced with Occucore. And then the Armanata, it's just an insane melee weapon, one of the best polearms in the game right now. But you don't have to use meta weapons on Koumei. Everything you put on her will become insanely strong, meaning you can have way more fun. One of the big changes I made going into this run compared to the previous video was the fact that my Sentinel is way stronger now. I've invested more into my companions lately, getting some necessary mods, making my Sentinels and my pets way stronger, forming some weapons as well. And here you can see my Sentinel killing a level cap enemy with ease. And I'm almost certain that it's because the decrees from Koumei apply to your Sentinel, because they also apply to your operator weapon, meaning that in the case where you do maybe go down in a short window of vulnerability, get yourself a good amp, use that Madurai first ability, and then alt fire. It will rinse through level cap, fodder enemies, easy 3 kills, and then you're revived. So Koumei even makes Last Gasp way stronger, as long as there's enemies around you or immortal. I know this video was super random considering that we already covered Koumei when she dropped, but I really like the discussion around this frame, and I do think there's fair points to both sides. but I just wanted to make a video on it myself. Let me know whether you guys agree with my takes. Is she really still a valid Warframe in the grand scheme of things, considering she's just endurance based? I really believe so, and I do just think she is purely designed for just endurance players, and that's fine. It makes her super unique and fun, and I think it's nice that not every frame in the game needs to be some sort of meta focus, kill everything instantly without trying. We've got so many good Warframes, man. The way I see it is, if you're not really wanting to go in endurance and you want something powerful, then don't play Koumei and just bust out Saren or Mesa. Then, if you want to try something more fun and super unique and maybe go on a longer mission, definitely use Koumei, because me personally, I'm going to die on this hill. I think she is the best endurance frame in the game, and I don't even think it's close. There's not many Warframes that can literally half-arse easily go to level cap in a survival. I'm not even trying in this gameplay, it's so easy. Granted, a lot of it is because secondary fortifier is insane with that heat inheritance. But yeah, I'm just a firm believer in this Warframe right now. I think she's probably the most unique the game has to offer. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed it. My links will be in the description if you want to follow me on Twitch. We play a bunch of different games over there. I'm going to leave you guys with some of the rest of the level cap footage before I go. Hope you guys have a good day. Peace.